Hello and welcome to the video. In this video, we will go through step 4 of the walkthrough tutorial series of the SAP UI5 documentation. Step 4 talks about XML views. So what are XML views? XML views provide a way to modularize the controls which we want to put on our UI screen. As we have seen in our previous steps, we are making use of sap.m.text control and we are instantiating this control from our index.js file. But as our application grows and we put more controls in our application, it becomes cumbersome to maintain the code if we place all our controls and we instantiate all our controls from the index.js file. In order to work in a better way, we have to create XML views, which provides modularization for the SAP UI5 controls, which we have to place on the screen. Here we can see SAP UI5 supports multiple view types, XML, HTML, and JavaScript. But XML views are the ones which are recommended by SAP. So we'll go ahead with XML views. You can download the source code of this particular step from this link here. I have already downloaded it and opened the application in Visual Studio Code IDE. For this step, the code changes which are needed are, first thing is we have to create a new folder inside the web app folder called the view folder. So this view folder is here. And inside the view folder, we have app.view.xml file. This app.view.xml file is responsible for instantiating the text control now. And it is no longer getting instantiated from the index.js file. The root node of this XML structure is view. Here we are referencing the sap.m namespace, which basically references to the sap.m library as the default namespace in this view.xml file. We are also referencing to sap.ui.core.mvc namespace by using the MVC namespace in our XML view. Here, this text tag, which we have in our XML document, this basically refers to the text control coming from the sap.m library. So you can see here that the default namespace is sap.m. Therefore, we can directly use the text control and instantiate the text control from this view file. Now going to the index.js file, you can see that now in this index.js file, we are defining the XML view and we are passing the object of the XML view in the callback function, where we are creating a new view using this method xmlview.create. We have to pass the view name. This view name is basically the name of the file where our XML view resides. If you see sap.ui.demo.walkthrough, this is the namespace for our application, which basically points to the web app folder. Then we have the view folder, which is here. And inside the view folder, we have app file, which is basically the app.view.xml file. That is how we provide the view name. Once the view gets created, we use the .placeAt method to place our view in the body section of our HTML document. Here, content refers to the ID which is associated with the body of our HTML document. These are the code changes which we have to do to introduce a view in our application and instantiate that view and place that view in our HTML document. Now to run this application, there are some prerequisite changes which you'll have to do. You need to have a manifest.json file in your application. Also, there are some changes which are needed in the ui5.yaml file, which I have already done. Once these changes are done, you need to execute npm install command. Once that command has run successfully, then you can run ui5 serve command, which will start a web server in your local host. Here we can see hello world printed on the screen. The only difference in this hello world and what we did in the previous step is that this hello world is coming from the sap.m.text control, which is getting instantiated from the XML view. Now, if we have a look at the documentation further down, we see there are some conventions which have been mentioned here. The first thing is that view names are always capitalized, which means that the name of the view should always start with a capital letter. All views are stored in the view folder. In this application, we only have one view because it's a very simple application. If our application is complex, as per any real world scenario, it will have multiple views, and we have to place all those view files inside our view folder. Names of XML views always end with .view.xml, like app.view.xml. And the default XML namespace is sap.m. We can see in our XML file that the default namespace is always sap.m. Other XML namespaces use the last part of the SAP namespace as alias. Here we can see this is another namespace which we are declaring in our XML view, and the alias MVC comes from .mvc from the SAP namespace for this particular library. So these are the conventions which we have to follow whenever we are creating XML views. In the next video, we will go to step 5 and learn about controllers. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.